avoiding background noise and keeping everything sort of moving smoothly. And for those of you that are familiar with Teams, we've obviously got the chat function. We'll be monitoring that throughout. So any questions that you've got, please add them in there, or use the raise your hand function, which we'll make sure we come to at the end.
Yes, Morgan's joined us. Hi, Adam.
Perfectly demonstrated there.
Just singing your praises, Adam, saying you're the only one I've seen that's tweeted about this and used the hashtag.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
I try to do my bit.
Do it splendidly. What noise is there again?
It's not me this time because I was on.
Now, if we just give it another minute to see if anyone else is able to join. But we've got the recording started now, thank you, Neil, which we'll be sharing at the end of the week. I believe we're trying to get all of the recordings from this week onto the YouTube, so everyone that's been involved in any of the sessions or has sort of expressed interest, then we should be able to send those links out. Well, I think it's a couple of minutes past, Andrew, so if you're happy, I'll hand over to you. For those of you that don't know and can't see the big yellow slide, that Andrew's from Boost, which is Lancashire's business growth hub. I've just been looking at their website. It's a really good website with lots of content, and it's interesting. Like so many growth hubs, they've put a lot of focus into business resilience during the COVID, and they've got a boost your recovery section. So I definitely recommend having a look at that after the session. But if I hand over to you, Andrew, and if you ask when you're on the next slide, Neil will be able to hopefully work out all the technology.
So we'll muddle through.
Everything's muted when you're not talking and cameras are off, and please use the chat function for any questions. Over to you, Andrew.
Right, okay, thanks. Cheers, Stuart. So welcome everybody. Stuart's actually just stolen my thunder. All you need to do is go to our website and everything is on there laid before you. What I'm going to do, hopefully for some of you on this call, this is just a reminder, a refresh about what Growth Hubs are and what they can do. But if you're new to Growth Hubs, hopefully within this short presentation, I'll give you a sense of what it is and the scope of the activity that sort of takes place through there. So if we pop to the next slide, I'll let you know I'm Andrew Leeming. I'm the program manager for Boost, and I have been since its inception. So I've got a fairly good handle on what it is that we do. And if I haven't, then obviously other people are responsible for that, not me, because I think I'm doing an okay job. Okay, next slide. The Growth Hub's a £6 million programme. It's the third iteration of Growth Hubs that we've got. And it's obviously it's a partnership, and it's backed by the LEP, it's backed by government, and we pull down a whole load of European funding as well to make it as supportive of businesses in Lancashire as we possibly can. Established back in 2013. And again, if the only thing you take away from this presentation, every business in Lancashire, if it wants to try and understand what support might be available to them, Boost should be that single access point. So if anyone's ever in doubt to where they need to go to look at what support might be available for either them as a business, or if they're talking and working with businesses and they're not sure, we just send them to Boost, and we will make sure that we can help and support and let them know the kind of offers and opportunities that are available to them. So that's all. That's my kind of quick 30-second pitch, if you like. If in doubt, people just should go to Boost, and if in further doubt, just give us a call, send us an email, drop us a note over our LinkedIn or our social or Twitter or any of our social media platforms, and someone will definitely get back to you, because the thing you need to know is that every single person that works for Boost really wants to help and support businesses in Lancashire. So can we bob on to the next slide? I think I've probably mentioned this already. So in terms of track record, we've supported about 6,000 businesses in Lancashire. It's not a bad number, but as with all growth hubs, we want to do more. If you look at the Lancashire economy, there's probably about 50,000 businesses. So we are scratching the surface, although some of those businesses possibly aren't eligible for some of our support just because of the nature of how we're funded. But there's definitely room for us to go off and support more businesses, and that's absolutely one of the things that we really want to do. We've kind of, just in terms of some of the good stuff, we've created over 2,500 jobs and possibly added about 70 million quid back to the economy. If we move on to the next slide, I can't see the slides moving, but I know that everyone's got slides that have been given to you, so that won't matter. You can always go back and look at it. In terms of this iteration of Boost, so the Boost 3, which is 2019 to 2021, we're looking to assist about 1,500 businesses across that duration, hoping to create about 13 or 1,400 jobs and adding approximately 45 to 50 million pounds back to the economy. One of our big sort of pushes in this iteration of Boost is to try and unlock and find businesses that we've not worked with before, because I think it's always too easy within some of the business support programs just to keep recycling the same businesses time and time again. So we've made a very purposeful push here in Lancashire to try and unlock the enthusiasm of businesses that possibly aren't as enthusiastic to take on public business support as we would like them to be. So all of our delivery partners are kind of tasked with trying to find new businesses that haven't yet taken full advantage of the fabulous support that's out there. So next slide. This is an overview really of the sort of core services. And when I say core, what I'm talking about here is we've got 4 key elements of support that we think are fundamental to helping businesses go off and grow and do amazing things. The first one, and these don't come in order of importance because they're all really important, but the first one is the business relationship management service, and this really is where the journey with Boost, with the Growth Hub, actually starts. When people call in, it's the business relationship management team that will be taking those calls, will be answering the emails, will be picking up the stuff on Twitter. And it is these guys that are going to set the relationship agenda with you so that people can start to explore what the art of the possible looks like in terms of some of the support that will be available to them as they progress on their support journey with us. It's called the Relationship Management Service for a very simple reason. We want to create relationships with the businesses in Lancashire, and we don't want those to be single one-off relationships. So the relationship that we start out with is going to be one that is ongoing. So we'll always make sure that we're touching base back with the businesses that we're working with and supporting to check that things are going okay, but also to act as that little nudge sometimes. If we've not heard from them, we might call them up in 6 months' time, ask how things are going. We'll obviously, we have a CRM system so we can understand what support journeys have been on and we can remind them, but we can also prod a little bit and see if there's other things that are challenging them as they look to go off and do amazing things in the economy. So that's the relationship management service. It's a whole team. There's about 10 associates that people can call upon. And if you pop onto the website and go to the About Us and meet the team, you can see all their beautiful smiling faces gleaming back at you with short little testimonials about kind of where their expertises are and what's particularly interests them. Because sometimes actually that start of that relationship, the businesses are going to want to know that the people they're talking to actually understand where they're coming from and what their agendas are likely to be. So we give as much flexibility in terms of how people can actually start those conversations as possible. And of course, we try and shine a light on all our amazing partners that are out there delivering that support, because my humble opinion is that most business support is best when it's done with people that you know, like and trust. So it's all about the relationship, and it's all about the trust that's enshrined within those relationships. So the sooner we can get people onto that trust footing, the better. So that's a relationship management service. Like I say, that for me, that's part of that headline. So that's the onboarding bit. And then we have 3 programs. We've got a growth support program, which is for businesses 3 years or less, or genuine startup businesses. So people that might have side hustles or are doing something, they're still in full-time work, but they've got another little sideline and they're not quite ready to push it forward, but at the same time, something in their heads going, you know what, I think this is where my passion lies. So the growth support program, again, that's a series of masterclasses, webinars, one-to-one coaching, really trying to get under the skin of where that business owner wants to take their business, what sort of solutions might look like, and then we'll set up basically a bespoke program that will help that business, because most people that start a business do it out of a passion for a particular thing, and we know that within business you've got to be a master of all the things that go into making the business work, which is the accounts, the people, all that sort of good stuff. But sometimes business owners and business leaders don't always have those skills, and certainly don't have them in the sort of quantity or the I don't know what the word is, or the enthusiasm is probably a good word, the enthusiasm for dealing with it. So, you know, finance is absolutely critical, but you know, some business owners kind of, it's not about the finance, it's about the product they're delivering, it's about the services they're offering, and the finances are a bit of a pain. So we try and help them to get to a point where they can at least understand it, with a view, obviously, that at some point they might employ someone to come and do the bits that they don't like doing as much, because it's far better to have people that are enthusiastic in the business, and what they want to do is find someone that loves finance as much as they love doing what they do within the business. So that's the growth support program. And like I say, there's also another element of that, which is about that pre-start. So people that are thinking about starting a business but haven't got there. And we have 2 bits of support there. And hopefully, more likely than not, if people come into the pre-start, they can then sort of very quickly move into the startup bit as well. So they can, in some instances, get a double amount of support straight on as they start to move very quickly through the process of getting their business established and flying high. We then have a growth mentoring service, which is a well-established service within Lancashire. That's delivered by Community Business Partners and Orvia. These are volunteer mentors, so these are people that have been there, seen it and done it. This service tends to be aimed at those businesses that are 3 years or older and have a particularly knotty or thorny issue that's inhibiting their growth in some way. And what we do is we get the business and then we find out what that issue is. We then go and look to our bank of mentors and see who is the brightest, the bubbliest, the most perfect fit for that business, and then we'll make sure that those 2 come together and develop a relationship, and hopefully can sort of navigate through the struggles or the challenges that they've seen they've got. So that's the mentoring service in a nutshell. It's probably not the best example. I'm sure my mentoring colleagues will be shouting at the screen if they watch this back at some stage in the future. And we've then also got it's a new service, this one. It's the bespoke service. This was part of recognition that we've got issues around productivity, we've got scale-up challenges, we've got internationalization of businesses. So we've created this bespoke program. This tends to be aimed at businesses that have at least 10 employees. They're the sort of bigger businesses now. For some people, 10 will be not big at all. But I think the reality of a lot of the growth of activity is that we tend to sort of our sweet spot, if you like, is probably between 3 and 7 employees. So this is quite a jump. And of course, we do work with businesses that have 50 or 100 or 150 or 200 employees. And again, because of the nature of funding, we can work with businesses that have up to 249 employees or less than £40 million turnover. So we've definitely got some extra work to do to look at how we encourage those bigger businesses into the growth of orbit. And the bespoke program was part of the recognition that we needed to do something that hopefully talked a little bit more to them about what some of their needs and requirements are. And again, the service, it's quite similar in some ways to the mentoring program, but we also offer more directive coaching that goes into those businesses, but there's also webinars. One of the things around Boost, it's about how we create a bit of a family as well. So, you know, connectivity and getting people networked, that runs across all of the streams of the activity that we do. But we explicitly do some of that peer working along with the bespoke program. So they're the sort of services. So we've got relationship management, we've got the growth support, we've got the bespoke program, and we've got the mentoring. And then wrapping all that around, we've also recognised the need for the growth hub to present itself professionally, purposely, and proactively into the Lancashire economy. So we spend a lot of time making sure that the marketing of our services are absolutely spot on. The brand is seen and visible within Lancashire. And we're creating the stories, the content, the inspiration pieces that hopefully will nudge businesses into thinking, oh, that's marginally interesting. Let me go and explore it a little bit more. So we do recognise the need to keep in front of the sort of marketing game, making sure that people are as aware as possible of the great support that Boost has to offer to lots of businesses in Lancashire. So I think I've already mentioned who's delivering each of the services, but I've probably not done it very well. So in terms of marketing and PR, we have procured all these services, and it was Freshfields that got that contract for us, and we do a fabulous job. In terms of the business relationship management service, that's Growth Lancashire that deliver that for us. The growth support program is a combination of both Winning Pitch and Enterprise for All. Our growth mentoring is another partnership between community business partners and Orvia, and the bespoke program is another combination program with Winning Pitch and East Lancashire's Chambers of Commerce, because we put a real focus in that bespoke program with some internationalisation work, and the chambers are really very strong on that sort of thing. So it was about bringing in the very best talent we can to help unlock the barriers that businesses have. So if we're going on to the next slide, my slides really aren't working, so I'm gonna, if they're not working for you, I apologise, and I hope you can keep up with me. Who's Boost for? It's for ambitious businesses in Lancashire. Now we'll come on to that a little bit later, because quite clearly I've still not mentioned COVID, and I've just mentioned it. We'll come back to COVID, but pre-COVID, it was for ambitious businesses in Lancashire. It was for startups and SMEs that had an ambition to go out and do much more than simply just create a livelihood or a lifestyle business for themselves. And there's a few other metrics that we have to take into account. So turnover's got to be less than 40 million, got to have less than 250 staff, and it's got to be primarily business to business focused. We tend to steer away from business to consumer. However, there is a slight shift in some of the thinking on that, which I might have time to explore a little bit later with you guys. So on to the next slide. We've got a focus this year, as I've already mentioned, around new to Boost. We are really clear that this is all about developing relationships with the business community. And if we don't do that absolutely brilliantly, we're not going to keep getting businesses coming back to us. We're not going to get businesses wanting to shine a light on the support that they've had and encourage their other business colleagues, partners, and people within their networks to come and also sort of take a bit of the Kool-Aid from Boost and get support where it's possible. So we really want people to be onboarded absolutely fantastically. We want them to absolutely value the activity we're bringing in, and the way we do that is to make sure we're actually delivering what they want us to deliver for them, which is why it always starts with a conversation with a business. One of the hashtags we use prolifically is the idea of a growth conversation. For me, everything starts with a conversation. For all the partners that are delivering out on it, it's all about that conversation with the business. What are the things that are challenging? What are the things that are tasking them? What can they do for themselves? And then the more difficult bit is, what sort of help and support do they need? And then once we get onto that help and support, we've got so much support that's out there that sometimes I think one of the reasons that sometimes public sector business support isn't always valued is because it seems a little bit, there's just so much of it, no one knows where to start. So again, one of the principles of Boost, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the business support environment. We've got people that have got that underhand. We've got people that understand all the various programs. All you need to do as a business owner that's looking to go off and do something different and grow is come and have that conversation with you. And then we will help and support you to find that perfect partner to go and help you go off and be brilliant. And on that point, that isn't always about going to the public sector to go and get that support. Sometimes that's about just reminding them that there is a whole wealth of absolutely amazing private sector business support that's out there already. And I think it's fair to say the reality is, for most businesses, that's where they go to find their support. So one of the things that we've done, and I think it's quite smart within Boost, is try and focus and partner with those private sector partners. So if you do get a chance on the Boost website, if you go to the Boost & Co bit, you will see about, I don't know, it's about 130 sort of partners, private sector partners, that have looked at what the ambitions for Boost are, have said, yeah, that's quite good, and we'd love to partner with you and collaborate with you. So the whole Boost & Co thing is set up to be a collaboration with the private sector, recognising that we can add value to each other both ways. So the private sector can carry on doing what they do absolutely amazingly, but as they're having conversations with businesses, sometimes there'll be things that they can't deal with, but a little nudge to ask them to pop over to the Boost website might be that third nudge that actually makes them go off and take some action. So a really powerful way for us, hopefully, to start reaching out to businesses. But at the same time, that works for us in Boost as well. So if we're putting on events and doing seminars and we need someone that can speak with authority on a particular topic, we can just go to our Boost & Co partners and find the right person that can present on that. And you know, it tends to create this whole idea that this Boost is here for all businesses in Lancashire, and it's about collaboration. That's the most powerful word I think I use when I'm talking about the Boost programme. This is absolutely about collaborating. It's collaborating with the businesses we're working with, but it's also about collaborating with the partners that are delivering on that support to help inspire people to go off and think differently. So I've talked about the core programs, and if people are following us on the slides, it's the next slide. However, I've already alluded to the fact that actually business support is immensely complex. There's loads and loads and loads of support offerings popping up here, there, and everywhere. And to that effect, Boost was established to try and be that single access point for any business that's feeling a little bit bewildered, just to come in and we can help make sense of it. If you look at our 4 core programs, if you then wrap around that some of the other European programs that are available, you can easily get up to 35 or 40 other offers of support that are available to any business in Lancashire that are looking to grow. And those sort of support offers are anything from international trade advice to skilling up in the skills agenda, new product development, startup support, mentoring support, obviously, but also funding and access to finance. So all the key and critical sort of issues that businesses at some stage in their development and their ongoing journeys will need to have conversations about. Sometimes they'll come to us, sometimes they'll go to another private sector partner, which is absolutely fine. Again, my view, if businesses can afford to pay for support, they absolutely should, because there's always an opportunity cost to businesses. So if I bring someone in who doesn't really need it because they can afford it, it does mean that if further down the line there's another business that does need my support, but I've run out of the funds or I've run out of the support within a particular package, it means they're not going to be able to get it. So I'd much rather have really honest and robust conversations right at the front, and that is part of the conversation with the business anyway. We need to challenge back, we need to provoke, we need to get those businesses thinking. No longer, in my view, is public sector business support there just because it's a gift that we give out to businesses. It isn't. It's about developing those relationships, and there needs to be some sort of agreement on what good looks like, and reductively good for us within the public sector is the creation of more jobs in the economy and more wealth. And if businesses are happy to engage with us on that agenda, we will bend over backwards to look at how we can find the right support to help them move forward. The next couple of slides, I think we can just forget that they're put there as illustrative, really, just to show the complexity of the business support environment. I hope the next slide on people's things is just where I mentioned that C word, COVID. I'm looking at my time. I think I've probably got a few more minutes just to race through this, and then if we have got some questions, I can then go back to answering them. But when COVID hit back in March, everything changed, and clearly what we were finding is there's lots of fearful businesses. There's no one that's not been affected by this, but because we're a growth hub, our whole mandate for existing was about having growth conversations back out to the business community, and it just felt completely dishonest, really, to be having those conversations with businesses when we've got a worldwide pandemic taking place. So we very quickly pivoted the growth hub, and instead of it being a growth conversation, we just wanted to make it a conversation with absolutely any business in Lancashire who was struggling. It was we formed something called the Ask for Help hashtag, and the whole idea that if you're in business, you are not alone. There is someone there that can actually listen to you, because sometimes that's all businesses want. They just want that listening ear, and certainly the feedback we're getting from the relationship managers when the phone calls are coming in, sometimes that's absolutely all that business wanted, someone just to listen to them, because they had no one else to share it with. They might have been a leader or an owner, and they just needed to either vent or talk through some of the problems. But at the same time, we also asked all of our delivery partners to open up their skills, talents, expertise to any business in Lancashire as well. So if someone phoned in because they're struggling with something, what we do is go and look around to our partners and sort of say, well, you could probably go off and do a couple of hours with that person. These were very short interventions. We were not offering a full 12-hour assist, and we weren't looking to actually use that as any kind of motivation. Although I will say, if we're here when people need us, hopefully they will also remember us. So we created the Ask for Help as a humanitarian response, basically, to something that was completely outside of most people's control. It was a very powerful call to action, and obviously one of the things I did is I wanted to make sure through our marketing that hopefully businesses couldn't miss us. So we invested a whole lot more trying to get the message out there, used a lot of social media collateral. We partnered up with partners that can help us push out that message. But we also looked at the collaboration opportunities with our wider partners as well, just to make sure that no one was within a business feeling completely that there was nowhere to turn. That doesn't mean that there aren't businesses like that. Of course there are, and we already, I'm sure, on this group know that there are businesses that have absolutely struggled. Some have gone under, and some are still incredibly fearful for what their future is. So the Ask for Help campaign, it happened. It was about a 3-month campaign, and then it probably started to feel like we're getting somewhere. And certainly in terms of the conversations that we were having. So as a growth hub, we met every single day in the morning as a group that were delivering out this support to talk and communicate with each other. Mostly because we also needed that support, because it was absolutely intense, and still is absolutely intense. So we met every single day. We call them stand-up meetings. We still have those stand-up meetings. We don't have them quite as often as we used to. But there was definitely a view that businesses were now starting to look at what the art of the possible might look like. So we recognised we had a leadership sort of function within Boost as well. So we created a new campaign which was called Boost Your Recovery. And that was recognising that we needed to shift the conversation away from the help, I'm stranded, I don't know what to do, into something was, right, we've dealt with the crisis, now let's look at how we positively build steps to move ourselves back into the trajectories in which our businesses were before COVID hit. So we did the Boost Your Recovery stuff. That is still happening across Lancashire. And obviously some of that was also about how we then try and coordinate the wealth of external support that was coming in from government, from local authorities, again, just to try and make sense of it. So obviously we've had local authority grants, we've had the furlough, we have Sybil's, we've had Bibbles, we've got, at the moment, there's the Boost Your Recovery grants, although that is very limited in terms of its finance. It sounds like a lot, but unfortunately it's not that much when you translate 30 million across the country. Lancashire did particularly well, but I think we had to close it down within 3 days because we had about 1,000 applications. So again, you can see the sort of just the surge of that sort of activity that there is. We've got the Rosebud Recovery Fund, we've got peer-to-peer groups. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's sort of COVID related, and we are still having those conversations as well about what that means for Boost going forward, because as you'll all be aware, COVID hasn't gone away, and certainly within Lancashire we've got new restrictions. We've just seen today that Liverpool has announced even further restrictions. The Northeast obviously did some restrictions a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, businesses we are seeing now that businesses are sort of still not sure what their journey into getting back to normal actually looks like. And we've got to respond to that as a growth hub in a sympathetic way. So we are continuing with conversations about what our support should be looking like. Ideally, obviously, we want to make sure we're working with growth focused businesses, but maybe we need to take the foot off the gas in terms of us talking about what success always looks like, to more about how businesses turn to issues around resilience or the next steps that they need to make just to consolidate their business so that they can get into a position where once this is behind us, they can then move forward with some enthusiasm, but also pace. So we are very seriously looking at kind of what that means in terms of having conversations with some of our funding partners about what good looks like. But I think at the moment what we're saying is we're still encouraging businesses to call us. Anybody can call us. We can't promise we can solve and resolve those issues, but we never could anyway. And what I'm now talking about is when we're talking to a business, it's about that business's determination to go and see their business do well. And as long as that business will take action on the support that we offer and won't just sit back, then I would hope that we've got a whole range of support or provocations or useful tutorials that businesses can get involved with to help them through these sort of darker times, if you like. And it does come back to that kind of phrase that we're using quite a lot. You are not alone. And I genuinely want businesses to ask for help and kind of boost their recovery. And I think that will do for now. Because then on the presentation, there's just a nice load of sort of people said beautiful things about our growth. But that's boring and you can read that yourself. So I don't know if you've got any questions, Stuart, or whether...
That's brilliant, Andrew. Thank you very much. It's really interesting, and I know you're having trouble seeing the slides yourself. So
Interesting going, have they?
Some of the business quotes there. There are a couple of quick questions in the chat, but we have run slightly over, and I just wanted to ask if there's anyone actually here that has any questions. If you want to raise your hand or just jump in and ask any questions, or I'll read a couple from the chat. No? Okay, so one of the questions in there was about Better Business for All aims to bring regulators and business support organisations together, and whether you had any ideas about quick wins in that regard in the midst of COVID and EU transition at the end of the year.
Yes, we just all need to communicate more. Like I say, one of the reasons I've sort of jumped into actually wanting to do this is just, if anyone is working with a business, really they should have boots in their back pocket at some stage. If you're working with businesses that you know are genuinely passionate and determined to go off and do better for themselves, we need to be looping them in. And anything I can do, if you're in Lancashire, anything I can do to help make that conversation happen, absolutely for it. But so are all my partners. I have been working with some of your colleagues across Lancashire, and we've had some sort of headline ideas about how we might be able to work together. I think sometimes it's just we just need to step forward and just do something. Let's create some blogs, let's create some content, let's show people what great practice looks like, let's amplify and share out each other's great services, because what I tend to find is if I'm a huge fan of everybody else, at some stage that fandom is then going to blow back into my face as well, hopefully, and we create a much better ecosystem for businesses to be able to navigate around. And bottom line is, if you've got a great relationship with a business and you can see that they are really wanting to do well for themselves, I want you to keep that amazing relationship. I want you to be seen as the introducer to something that is going to be really appreciated. I will make sure that whatever lands in will be understood, will be helpful, and if it's not, we'll have a conversation about, right, next time we do that, what do we need to do differently? So for me, it's all just let's just start those conversations. Let's not worry about process. Let's not worry about those sorts of things. This business support for me is practical. We just need to get on with doing stuff. We need to do it with integrity, and then we just crack on. I don't know if that answers the question, but
You are on, Stuart.
oh, it's still getting a thumbs down.
So Neil, did you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Andrew. I enjoyed your session. Thank you. You mentioned business to consumer, and
Yep.
thinking about that, or that some of your work might touch upon that. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so in the past, we've steered really clear of business to consumer work, mostly because the European Union was never really a fan of it. But also when you start looking at the quantum of activity, business consumer sometimes tends to create lower value jobs. And this was always about creating high value jobs and jobs at pace. And sometimes B2C weren't were never factored in, because generally it was just selling as a consequence of something else that was in their lives, and it tended to be more lifestyle-y. businesses. That isn't to demean lifestyle businesses. I need to be really careful when I say things like that. However, we've had a bit of a rethink, and we can now allow B2C businesses into the Growth Hub sort of arrangements, but there is a caveat to that, that they've got to actually want to do things at scale within that B2C. So it's not about us being able to support a local retailer, but if that local retailer has ambitions to create 5, 10, 15, 100 worldwide places, then quite clearly I want to work with them, because I want Lancashire to be seen as inspiring and helping out all of its businesses, and it'd be fabulous that we had the head office based there. So we have re-looked a little bit at that B2C thing, and as long as the passion and ambition to go off and grow and do things at pace and scale, then we are definitely up for a conversation with those B2C partners now as well. And I think that kind of goes across some of the other growth hubs as well. It's sort of new thinking. So again, you know, these sorts of things we're going to have to test it out a little bit. We're going to find what works, but we're very keen to really capture anybody from business that wants to go off and do better, do more, have a conversation with us. We can't promise we're going to be absolutely perfect for you, and we can't promise we can unlock every single thing. I always say that the bottom line for all of our business support, it only works if the business owner or the business leader actually implements and drives this activity forward. We are but just a mere conduit for trying to make some of these things happen.
Well, it's clear from the way you talk that you're very passionate about what you do, which is brilliant. I really enjoyed your presentation. We have run a little bit over, but it's been well worth it.
So
it's been brilliant, and you know, I've certainly learned a lot, and I think there's a lot more that you can do in terms of that growth area, as you've said.
Yeah.
So we have recorded the session, which we will be sending out. And unless anyone has any burning questions for Andrew, but I'm sure he would be very happy to have conversations with anyone outside this session.
Yeah, contact details there. I'm sure they're up on your screen, but just not up on mine. Catch me on Twitter, social media. If you're on LinkedIn, send me a LinkedIn request and I will gladly accept it, as long as you say who you are and why. Otherwise, we'll just go into a doom list of people that try and connect with me but don't say anywhere.
Right, it's been really enjoyable, and hopefully we've all learned a lot. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Andrew.
I'll see you in the future listeners. Right, let's go now. We're still recording. No. Anyone wants to leave, Stuart? That way, please.
And I think it's only Neil that can stop the recording, because he started it. That was really interesting, Andrew. And it's, like I say, you're clearly very passionate about what you do, and it really came through.
It's not being passionate, is it?
I like the bit, can you hear me, Andrew? I like the bit especially when you were saying it works best when you know, like and trust people. Those relationships you have with your business, what do you call them? Business relationship managers. They all look very nice. I had a look at their picture on the screen. They look very...
Yeah, no, everyone that delivers for us, I hope is nice. But I absolutely stand by, you only get the best out of people when you like working with them. And if you don't like working with people, you shouldn't be working with them. That's always been my bottom line. That's how you keep a smile on your face, isn't it? I mean, nothing worse than working with people that you just don't get on with. So
it's really good presentation. It's excellent. It's absolutely on message. It's really good.
Well, thank God for that.
No, it was perfect. It's really, and there's such a lot of stuff there which we need to connect with the regulators. I mean, even if it's just drawing attention to what you do,
Start with simple things, because if we can build from that, that's, you know, it's these small building blocks that will then hopefully, once we do start meeting, we're going to realise we like each other. And we can probably do much more together.
So our next steps will be about where we go from here after these introductory sessions. And I know we've met before and we've done some work in Lancashire, so it's maybe we need to do something a little bit quicker and a bit smarter, as you say, you know, with the kind of the challenges that we have at the moment. So that sounds like a bit of a plan to me, definitely, for phase 2. But yeah, that's absolutely perfect, Andrew. It was really, really good. It was excellent. We enjoyed it with our snazzy backgrounds.
It's not. I usually have my goose background on, but that's only when